before, the development of Port Stephen's council land at Calamanda Bay has been an on-again, off-again affair. This time, however, the work is actually underway. A bulldozer has begun pushing the 4 kilometre road through the town of Strait. The eventually being sold to Strait Road with Nelson Bay Road. By Christmas, the council will have spent $1 million. It will have a transport road giving access to 35 residential building blocks and 99 larger rural. At the Nelson Bay end, a start will also be made on a new shopping centre. Council involvement in this development has attracted some criticism. President Roy Taylor feels may well continue. But he says the work now underway demonstrates the council's commitment.
Government departments have suggested in the previous attempts that we've had that we, by virtue of the fact that they never got off the ground, we haven't been fair dinkum, for the want of a better word, but this time the efforts of council are genuine and we feel we've got it going at last.
The seminar was convened by the Women's Electoral Lobby and featured speakers from the state and local government arenas, as well as universities and colleges. The spokesperson for Wells, Sue Taylor, says with more women entering politics, the way is open for women to improve their lot, as long as they recognise the potential and take action.
I think women in the community now can take up those opportunities that are being offered to us by the women who are involved in Parliament and public service, and lobby more and gain more from the government.
Do you think that now there are those role models there, that more women will enter politics?
I hope so. I hope political parties will look at the performance of these women and realise that as candidates they have a lot to offer, that maleness is not a necessary part of being a politician.
Well, originally the company general manager just felt very concerned that there was no helicopter in the Hunter Valley that was available, and so he put a challenge out to the employees and said if they raised money that he would match it, and they raised nearly $4,000, so he matched it and made it 8, and then the employees said, look, that's not good enough, they want some more, and so the employees actually of their own volition set out to run a walkathon in order to raise some more money for the helicopter appeal.
So that brings the total now to over $12,000, is it?
Yes, $12,300, yes.
And is that going to continue? Are you going to continue raising money?
Now, what we'd like to do is actually challenge the rest of the industries. The poultry industry has now got $12,300, and that's no chicken feed. So we'd ask the other industries to put their hands in their pocket and try to get this helicopter, because if the same sort of money was raised per head of employee in other industries, as has been raised by Steggall's employees, then the helicopter would exist.
After 30 years on the road, it seems only fitting that the majority of the movie is about those endless tours of the outback.
Kent Chadwick, who is the producer, he followed our show a few years ago, and he felt that we had something for just the average Australian person. And I think that the movie mostly deals with as we meet Australians, as they meet us, and it's a very proud movie about Australia, about Australians, and everybody is very, very natural, and so if it was done in 84, it'd be the Slim Dusty tour of 84, but it's a tour of 83.
Slim says he's fortunate to have a rapport with the average Australian, but does he think he'll gain any new fans as a result of the film?
I think that we will gain more fans from the movie. I think so.
Negotiations with unions at both the Newcastle and Sydney terminals. Unions signed an agreement
and trailer sailors from all parts of the state travelled to Salamander Bay to take part in what was to be a 27 nautical mile marathon. Although 57 boats were due to start, only 39 crossed the starting line in 34 knots wind. But within 5 minutes of the start, winds had risen to nearly 45 knots in the heart, and there were casualties. A Lake Macquarie blazer pipe capsized and had to be towed in. 2 local yachts and 1 from Wollongong lost their masts, and many others turned back. Of the 21 that finished the shortened course in Division 1, first was Moon Shadow from Mile Lake, second Mischief from Botany Bay, and third Satisfaction from Sydney. In Division 2, first Balea from Sydney, second Bonnie Lass from Maitland, and third Inspiration from Sydney. In the multi-hull division, first Curlew, Sydney, second LTT from Tamworth, and third Bags from Port Stephens. Meanwhile, in Kersey State Forest, students and their families are camped over the long weekend, taking part in a series of rounds to decide the Barebow Championship. Both yesterday and today saw the competition, and tonight will be the presentation of yearly hunting and point score awards. Over 50% of the students competing are juniors, and it was easy to see the sport has become a family event. Lots of student events will be held for both adults and children, and a local band will be travelling to the area to entertain families before they leave tomorrow morning.
Multiculturalism is certainly in the theatrical air at the moment, with Tales from a Strange Land continuing this week at the Roxy Theatre, and with the Free Wheels Company previewing its third-term production, Zorica. Zorica was written by Newcastle's Rennie Giles to promote a positive attitude towards the multicultural nature of our society. It focuses on a young Australian-born girl, Zorica Stepanovsky, of Macedonian and Welsh background, who finds that her unusual name and her father's language and customs cause her grave embarrassment at school. It's a very warm and interesting play and extremely well acted, with a very nice touch at the end when audience members are invited to join in a dance when Zorica comes to terms with her background. I was a bit surprised, though, to find the play telling me that a young child would have such a hard time at school about her name that she'd want to change it, but then perhaps the attitudes of 20 years ago still do prevail. If that's the case, upper primary and lower secondary students should find a lot of food for thought in this play and hopefully get a better appreciation of the multicultural nature of life here.
Scores of tiny flounder, bream, gooses and mullet lay on the decks of the trawler Kirawa this morning, the result of 10 minutes fishing in the Hunter River. The undersized fish is just too small prawns for all but owner, Mr. Dominic Bagnato, had to go for the morning's catch. Bagnato says the river has to be closed to allow the fish to grow. The fish is caught up in the 1 3/4-inch net, which is then used inside the river to catch the prawns, and are dead before being pulled aboard. Feed outside a larger 3.5-inch square net is used.
There that done a lot of it.
Bagnato says that in one season in the river, the trawler will catch between 20 and 30 tons of the small fish, which multiplied by nearly 120 boats, he said would explain why the river is being fished out. He says the river must be closed soon, and that although many of the other fishermen felt the same, they'd come up against a brick wall where the authorities were concerned. He condemned the wasted fish, which, he said, would be thrown over the side, many of them not more than a week old. Featured a menagerie of birds, animals and unusual people, and while many floats carried messages such as love longer eat oysters and make a daily roller skate, for others words just weren't necessary. In the Upper Hunt Valley, the wine festival is happening thousands, with activities at the winery and an air show organised by the Stone Aero Club. The theme of this year's air show was the Rivers on Parade. DC3 decoder and completing the comprehensive display with the REM Spitfire in the process of being rebuilt and only a month away from completion. Festivals may have drawn to a close for another year, as the long weekend of non-stop entertainment for one session in Darwin did not resume for some time. Calls to have the Hunter River closed to professional fishermen because of fears the river is being fished out have been criticised by river users. With the start of the prawning season, the argument that undersized fish are being caught in prawning nets and destroyed has once again prompted calls for the river's closure. The professional fisherman, Fred Sear, says that prawning poses little threat to the fish population.
Well, the fisherman's not allowed to keep any fish that he catches. As soon as the catch is emptied into the sorting box, as quick as we can, we get the fish back into the river.
Why do you think some fishermen want the river closed?
If the river was closed, it would allow the fish when they mature and the prawns when they mature to swim out to sea and allow the bigger boats to catch them out at sea.
The three teams, of course, will be the two from Lakeside, Breakaways and Valentine, and Newcastle's top side, which is Newcastle Jays number 1.
But of course, Jays in the past have performed well overseas.
They have indeed. Last year in Fiji, they were only 1 goal down to the Australian Institute of Sport, and that team, in fact, won that particular tournament.
Well, how fierce is this tournament going to be?
It's highly competitive, and the teams will be all out right from the first whistle till the last. And they'll be looking for different styles of play, obviously, and it'll take everything they've got to compete with these other countries.
Would it be fair to sort of assume that the winner is perhaps one of the best netball teams in the world?
It could be so, as a club team, as opposed to actually representative teams where the country selects their best.
On Sunday, Rosebud will be hoping to end the season in the same winning form that saw the side defeat Canberra last weekend and keep their slim chance of making the NFL semi-finals alive. For Rosebud's young defender, Ralph Mayer, the game will be the last chance to show fans the form which won him selection in the Australian side to contest the Melbourne Cup in Singapore. Mayer is confident about his own future and believes Rosebud will come out of Sunday's game 2 points to Richter.
Feeling the camp has always been good at Newcastle, so we're on very high, and with the last game I think we'll get a good result.
How can the team go this weekend?
Well, I'm determined we're going to win, yes. We won't make it into the semi-finals, but I'm sure we'll get up to it.
Will you be staying with Rosebud next season?
Well, at this moment I'd say yes, but if a good offer came along I'd consider it most definitely, yes.
Evidence of the media age is everywhere, with increasing numbers of television and radio stations and the proliferation of the print media. It's partly because of this industry growth that the communications course has been created.
Well, there's a considerable student demand for courses of this type. A similar course at Sydney, run by the New South Wales Institute of Technology, attracts something like 5,000 applicants for about 100 places.
36 full-time students will be enrolled at Newcastle next year. Training will be in sound, video and film production, photography, professional writing, graphics and computing. But the course will not provide a professional qualification in the same way as, for example, engineering. It will merely give students a general knowledge, and some believe employers will be unimpressed.
Some industries prefer to train their own people straight from school, but we believe that as industry becomes more sophisticated, the media industry becomes more sophisticated, we think they would be looking for tertiary trained students.
There's another new call to employers. It's a diploma in safety management to be run in 85 by the National Safety Council in Australia. Students will come from industry and government, and there is so much interest that the initial course of 30 is almost full. That's because it pays the employer to have a better safety record.
There are some fairly heavy financial benefits to organisations if a person has a more professional knowledge and a more professional approach to his role, then the incidence of industrial diseases and industrial accidents is minimised.
Seven tough and sometimes bitter years on council. 4 of them as Deputy Lord Mayor, 5 months as Acting Lord Mayor, and the council's dismissal behind him, Don Geddes is ready for another fight. While he concedes Alan Morris will be difficult to toss in a traditionally Labor seat, he says he will do much better than some people predict. Mr Geddes says he is running because of the poor treatment Newcastle is receiving from the Labor Party.
I think that's plainly obvious from what's happened the last few days. Newcastle's been given a dirty deal by the politics in this area, and it's my intention to try and correct that and put Newcastle back in a situation of confidence. And the only way that can be achieved is by an independent politician getting in and working for Newcastle and Newcastle alone.
Alan Morris today welcomed the announcement, saying Mr Geddes was trying to avoid responsibility for the council's sacking. I asked Mr Morris, would a strong vote for Don Geddes be a slap in the face of the Labor Party?
Oh, I think the yardstick will be the 40% that he got against the Lord Mayor. I don't think he'll get that anywhere near that in the federal election, and I think what will happen is that the people of Newcastle will indicate very clearly that they weren't violently opposed to the council being dismissed. They'll indicate very clearly that Alban Geddes hasn't a record of achievement that Newcastle needs. They'll indicate very clearly that in 7 years he hasn't established the credibility of an achiever. Politics and government is about hard slog, not about notoriety. I ask people of Newcastle to try and think of one project, one significant project that can be that Geddes can lay claim to. They'll have a hard time finding one.
It's the hard work over, trying to soothe all those sore muscles. The championships culminated late this afternoon with the finals for the 3 divisions, the men's A grade, the women's A grade, and the masters, or the over 45. In the men's A grade, 19-year-old John Martin from Curry retained the title he won last year. He defeated Raymond Terrace's Philip Ray 9-5, 2-9, 9-2, 9-5 in an even and hard-fought match. In the Masters, Barry Martin, who was the runner-up in this year's Australian men's over 45, defeated John Reed from Raymond Terrace 3 games to love. In the women's, last year's champion Guy Feely lost her crown to fellow International Squash Club player Sally Griffiths, who took out the match 3 games to love. The invitation tournament has drawn a large field, with 48 triples teams, or some 144 bowlers, taking part. Amongst the field are many of Newcastle's and indeed the state's top bowlers. But the team favoured to take out the tournament is that of locals Barry Salter, Seth Liddell and Jack Fisher McIntosh. Each is an Australian champion. Today they were playing on the green beside the title holders, Wes Bromley, Terry Webster and Alan Johnson. And there was a chance for the 2 teams to size up their main rivals. The tournament is in honour of local bowls identity Jack Sinclair, who as a state selector for 15 years has been a stalwart of bowls in New South Wales. The tournament finishes on Thursday afternoon with the finals.